good, and we'll get pictures as well. Right, we're starting. Now, you've got props.
I've got a
Explain your
booby
props.
cushion, so if anybody's listening from now on, I might have to keep saying booby cushion, because if anybody tunes in halfway through, they might actually think I've got a boob out. But it's actually my booby cushion. And I have a booby cushion, and it actually shows the percentages of where a lot of tumours, lumps and bumps are found. And if I hold the booby cushion over my right boobie, you can see that the biggest amount are found in towards the armpit area of the boob. So this obviously is a way of showing people that you need to check right into your armpit.
So it's like looking at the boob as a quarter. You've kind of split a quarter. So
it's been sectioned off.
Yeah, so that top section, 41% is near the armpit.
Yes.
People wouldn't necessarily think in terms of the armpit, would they?
No. The best time to check your boobies is when you're wet, so when you're in the bath or the shower, because your hand moves easily over the skin and you can feel lumps and bumps and stuff and delves, and it's getting right into the armpit, right in, and feeling for anything that's unusual. If you do this regular, then you will spot a change. Some people do have lumpy boobs. You might have a bump that's been there forever and you know about it, you've had it checked and it's absolutely fine. But if you regularly check, you will notice if that changes, if it gets bigger, if it gets hard, or if you get a new lump somewhere else. And any new lumps, you need to go back to your GP and say, I found a new lump, because if you have an existing one, just because that one's okay, it doesn't mean any new ones are. So once you get them checked out, if the GP says it's fine, you can forget about it, but you are aware to keep an eye on it in case there's any changes and for any other lumps that are there. So it's important to check. I've got another boobie here, and these are some of the props that I take out when I do talks. And this one has little light lumps in, and you can squash them, and this would represent like a lumpy boob, maybe with a few cysts in, which are quite harmless. But if it's the first time you've spotted it, you need to go and get it checked out at your GP, just in case. And then if he says, oh, it's just a cyst or a bit of fatty tissue, then you can relax, forget about it, but you know it's there. And then I have another boobie which has a very, very hard lump. You can't squidge it, you can't move it. I'll pass it over so you can have a feel. And that would represent a cancerous lump, that there would be something. I'll pass it to you there. And you can feel it, it's quite hard. You can't move it, it wouldn't be fatty tissue.
Now so that's the thing, I mean, people can often get the lumps and they actually are cysts. So how does a cyst feel that's different, that you would think, yeah, that's just a cyst?
A cyst would be squidgy, but you don't want to self-diagnose because you aren't a doctor, and I'm not a doctor. A doctor needs to have a feel and say, yes, confirm that's a cyst, you can go away and forget about it. We shouldn't self-diagnose because it could be anything. So this is about finding something, going to the GP and putting your mind at rest. If it is something more serious, then you've caught it early, the doctor will refer you on to the appropriate specialist, and they will either remove it, they'll take a sample, a biopsy, or they'll have a look. They might even scan it and say it's nothing. But at least you're at the very early stages of that pathway. You haven't left it until you've got one of your boobs is the size of 3 boobs. You know, you don't leave it until... you know, or you've developed rashes, or you've got pain, or there's all sorts of things. Lumps might be painful, or they might not be painful, so that's not an indicator on its own, but having the lump is. It's about going to your GP, getting it checked out.
Now, is there a particular way, because you said about doing the check while you're in the shower, because then your skin is wet and it's easier. But is there interesting.
Yes.
So I was going to say, is there a direction you should be doing it?
So I've got another
Do you
boobie
need
out.
to use fingers, hands?
2 fingers, wherever's comfortable, round and round the nipple area, right the way around, and then obviously round into the armpit area.
Now that looks, from what I'm actually looking at here,
it doesn't matter which direction.
Odd,
I think it's just to say that it's round, so that you're doing the whole of the boob. You're not just checking there and it under there. It's not just a prod. It is actually running your fingers over the surface, yeah, and then up and down, obviously up and down. Because it's by the moving of your hand you'll feel a lump. So just by poking it, you do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Is there a pressure level that you should be applying?
Just what's comfortable. Obviously, if you press so hard you can feel your rib cage, you're doing damage. You don't want to do any damage. It's just that light pressure, And you will notice, if there's a lump under your skin, you will notice I have a cyst in my arm here. I have quite a big one there. Maybe you run your hand over there. You don't have to rub it that hard, and you can feel it there. And I have another little one there. I've had them both checked out. They're in my arm. They're just fatty tissues. But there, if you feel over there very lightly, that's a very small lump. But you can feel it, and you're not pressing really hard.
No, absolutely.
So that would be the same thing. So it's also useful to have arms that look like mine as well.
You've got the handy extra too.
I do,
there, I suppose.
Yes.
The thing is, when you are sort of pressing, there's that thought that yes, is there anything that a lot deeper than just a general touch would give you, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Obviously, the more pressure, you can damage the tissue. We don't want to cause bruising or anything like that. A lump, if you can imagine layers and layers of fatty tissue, a lump, it's like Princess and the Pea. Even a deeper lump would cause, you'd feel it wouldn't be smooth. You'd feel, even though it was deep, you might not be able to actually locate exactly where it is, because, but you'd be able to feel there's something there.
Now let's get to the men, because you've also got a special prop for that as well.
I do. I don't think that these are particularly representative of the guys. But they are good fun to have a squash when you're out and about talking to people. I wouldn't recommend doing it to a guy.
They do look like stress balls,
yes,
actually.
They do. And this is quite hard to actually feel where the fake lump is. On a gentleman, if they were doing a self-check, it would be quite a lot easier to find the lump. And what you would, the best way to imagine it is, football, they have the net bag with the 2 footballs in. You're going to, like PE teacher, or netball bag. So if you think of your football bag being a net bag with 2 footballs in it, and that would represent the guys downstairs for gentlemen. Gentlemen squirm when you say testicles, so I tend to say the boys or the guys downstairs. So that's what I'm talking about for people who just need that confirming. So when the men in the shower are checking the boys downstairs, they're looking for 2 footballs in a net bag. If there was a tennis ball in that bag rolling about quite freely, 9 times out of 10 that would be a cyst. You'd be able to squash it, it'd be quite squidgy. But you should still go to your GP, because you haven't got x-ray eyes, you can't see what it is, and you are not professionally trained in medicine. So you go to your GP and say, I found this thing. He'll have a little squidge and say, it's just a cyst, it's fine. If it gets bigger or turns hard, then obviously you would go back and say this is getting bigger, and he would probably refer you to have it checked out. Now, if that tennis ball was actually stuck to one of the footballs, then you could have a problem.
Ah, right, okay.
But you would still go to your GP. He would refer you for further tests and diagnose whether it is something serious or whether it's nothing to worry about. But once again, it's the same as with the boobies. If you're aware there's a lump there, you've had it checked out, and they say it's fine, it puts your mind at rest. But you know it's there for next time you check, and you can keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't change. And any new lumps, you would know it's a new lump because you're aware of the lump that you've already got. And then you go back to your GP. Now, an important thing for guys to remember is that if they do get testicular cancer and do nothing, the consequences could be, as a side effect, incontinence. And for people who want the definition, that would be having a wee when you don't mean to have a wee. And the other consequence could be impotence, which a guy said to me, you mean importance? I said, no, impotence.
Which
means
is quite important,
you can't, it is, yes, but it means that's where you can't have fun with the ladies without any medical intervention.
Yes.
You would need.
Now, we talked about the way you demonstrated with the booby cushion.
Yes.
It was the sort of the circular and also the up and the down. How does it work with men?
With men, obviously, they probably have their own techniques. I have been told by some men that they like to grab hold of the netting of the bag to secure it and then feel like the net balls in the bag. It's just feeling all the way. The footballs should be quite uniform. They're quite round. They are very vascular. They do have veins and natural lumps and bumps. But if you check regular, you will know what's normal and what's normally there and what isn't normally there. So you're checking for something that's not normal.
And what is regular? What would you call as regular?
Right, at least once a month. once a month. In ladies with the boobies, you can get certain changes around the time of your menstrual cycle, your periods. You might get lumps or bumps before your menstrual cycle that disappear afterwards, and if you're aware of that, then that is absolutely fine. So it's just about being aware. If you find a new lump and bump and you are due for your monthly period, check again a couple of days after you've come on. If it's still there, you need to go to your GP. If it's gone, it's just hormonal.
Oh, there's so much to think about, isn't there, really? So it is about the early diagnosis, it's about the regular checks. And is there a sort of pressure, a hardness, a shower, a bath thing with men?
Well, with men, you have to be a lot more careful downstairs because they are very sensitive downstairs and you can't squash them like we do with our boobies. But men, they're doing their own self-check. They know the pressure that they can tolerate, and it's just really checking the area gently and finding lumps and bumps. It's a different tissue down there. It's a bit more solid than your boobies anyway, so I think it's probably a bit easier to feel if there was a tennis ball stuck to the football. I think it would probably be easier to find it.
That's absolutely smashing. I really hope that people have taken something from that this morning if they weren't entirely sure how to go on. Because you can see things all the time, but sometimes it's just or people can say things, but the seeing it and the description of it, I think that's really helpful.
And it's also about if somebody mentions something like, your husband or your boyfriend, your son, anyone, or even a female relative, oh, I've got this lump, I've got this bump. It's about giving them that encouragement and saying, you need to go and get it checked out. It'll put your mind at rest. Go and get it checked out and encourage them. And that's the thing about this cancer thing of having the fear of talking about it and mentioning it. It's about normalising it and saying, come on, oh, you need to get that checked out. Don't leave it, and encouraging each other to actually do the self-checks and then be proactive and do something about it.
Tracy, thank you so much for today.